is up, everybody? Welcome back to Truth and Transparency. Happy Sunday morning. It is Sunday, right? All day. We have a nice couple of days off here after this Sunday. So we have Martin Luther King Day, and then a lovely teacher in service day. Act like I'm a teacher or something. No, but I do have a child, and I pay attention to those days that I do not have to drive anybody to school, right? All right, let's jump into it. Again, sorry for the mix-up and the delay. I thought that this was scheduled for 11. I'm on the phone, and someone's like, "You're scheduled." It said you were scheduled at 10. I was like, "Oh, I gotta go." So again, blame me. I am all for the blame. All right, again, this episode, wrong. Banfield's clerical error being McKee's trigger is impossible and dangerous reporting, and I'm going to tell you why.
First thing for a broadcaster, but you do Crime Fix. You've got a program called Crime Fix on the Law and Crime Network, and so you really go into the granular of the legal. And, I was just stunned when I saw this mess up. This happened back in June of last year, the actual filing of this court activity, scheduling a court hearing for September. But then one day later, they changed it. And so I just wanted to get your take on just the strangeness of that and how rare that actually is.
I think that it's not that uncommon.
Right there out the gate. Anjanette Levy. So Ashley Banfield's like, I want to talk about how rare this is. Anjanette Levy. Well, it is not that uncommon. Like, if I had this little ticker here, it'd be like, cha-ching, like, okay, 1 point. It's not that uncommon, this clerical docket entry error.
I actually have a friend who lives in Columbus, and we were talking about this last week, and she said, "Oh, that's clerical." She said, "That's a clerical error." She said that she had something similar, just some wonky things that had happened with her divorce case in Franklin County. That's the county where this took place. And so she said, "That's a clerical error." And actually, she told me, because she was so interested in this, that she actually went physically and spoke with somebody at the clerk's office. I haven't checked into it myself because she said it's a clerical error, but she told me she spoke with somebody at the clerk's office, and they told her, yeah, that was just like a mistake, an error.
And they're referred to as a docket entry error. And something that I want to point out here as well is one of the things that I had broke on my channel was talking about this docket entry error. And I wanted to make sure that this did not get put on the wrong path. When I had immediately saw this, I've had personal experiences with the Franklin County courts. Now, there's clerical errors all the time, but there is something as such as known as a docket entry error. And we're going to hear all about what a docket entry error is here in a second. That way, not from my own words, but from other people's words, AKA the people that do it, the people that did it. The Franklin County courts, all of us are human here. They're human. But I think that it is completely unfair for anybody at the Franklin County courts to think that a human mistake that they made by putting a docket entry that was supposed to be for docket entry 17DR 1641 and accidentally typed in 1461, nobody should be thinking that, oh my gosh, I triggered a man to go commit double homicide. Okay. That's just impossible. And I'm going to show you how this error was impossible to be a trigger.
And so it wasn't like somebody went in there and requested this hearing.
Right. And my podcast producer actually spoke with a court clerk as well. And that's going to be coming up on my Drop Dead Serious podcast, the conversation, the information that the court clerk gave her. It's just,
okay. So then Ashley has her podcast, and on her podcast, same day, same night.
First, because not everybody knows how court dockets and clerks, work.
This is not her producer. This one here is at the.
It was filed.
And the first had a long conversation to get a feel about where did it even happen, since Dr. McKee and Monique had a divorce that was finalized almost 9 years ago. My producer, Lindsay Haller, was able to talk to the court clerk today, got right through to her, had a long conversation to get a feel about how this mistake could have actually happened in the first place. And here's what the court clerk told her.
It's a notice on the case that was filed yesterday that says hearing mistakenly set on this case instead of set case number 1641.
Okay. And then I also wanted to see if you could help me out. So when it is set, are notifications sent out even if it's a mistake, or how does that work?
I mean, the parties would have been mailed their hearing dates.
Okay, so a quick
right there. And then that's all you hear. The parties would have been mailed their hearing dates. Okay. Now, this was the whole point of my reporting back a couple weeks ago. And when I say I initially did it, is because it was asked, hey, do I have any knowledge of what this docket and do I know anything about this? Can I find anything out about this? Oh, yes, I can. I know a lot about the Franklin County Courts family division. Absolutely. So I was the person that put this out. And the reason being is because I knew it didn't matter if they were ever mailed anything, because the mailing address for Mike McKee was his Virginia address. Okay, that's how we all found his Virginia address in the first place, was through the this docket, his divorce filing. That's how we found the Virginia address in the first place. And if anything was mailed, I didn't care about it, because guess what? Guess where it would have went? To Virginia. And now you're going to have to prove to me that Mike McKee, who's dodging service all over the place, who's giving fake addresses and fake phone numbers, decides though that, hey, I'm going to keep up with my Virginia address and keep changing my addresses so that my mail is being forwarded over all of these years to wherever I'm really truly at. No, because that's not how that works. But prove that to me. The only most important thing, I knew this from personal experience, is if you are a pro se litigant, which when I saw that Michael's name was listed as being pro se, I knew that he then had the capability to get things emailed to him, not just mail. You would get things directly emailed to you from the courts, the same way that they send out this notification, you would get in an email. Okay. So on these two mailed out documents, one goes to her, one goes to him. I knew that it didn't matter, because this woman's going to her parents' house. She's not the perpetrator. She was not triggered to do anything. Ask a family member if they ever gave her that came into the mail to her parents' house, or if they just discarded it. You'd have to ask the family that. The second one right here is his mail to Michael D. McKee. And I'm going to put it up here in a second. Address is the Virginia address. So then all I cared about was, could anything be emailed? That's the only way, in my opinion, that Michael would have ever even known about this, is if he had an email on file, and if it was something that was he still used and had access to, and if the courts emailed. That's the only thing that mattered. Okay, that's it. And I knew this 2 weeks ago. And so the only thing I was concerned about was, were they emailed? That's all that matters. That's the only way that he could know about this. Unfortunately here, they end the recording.
I mean, the parties would have been mailed their hearing dates.
Okay.
Right there. The parties would have been mailed their hearing dates. So this is what we're using as a saying that this could be a trigger.
So a quick note about where the notices go. Usually they are sent to the attorneys on record, right? In this particular action, he was pro se. That means he was representing himself. But Monique seemed to have a lawyer that also signed the documents. So it's unclear if he even got the notice, because he moved a few times, or honestly, whether she got the notice. Okay, the attorney was there, but did the attorney eventually forward it to Monique? I think yes. I think that attorney would have contacted Monique and say, look, something happened. I got a notice, but don't worry about it.
Okay. She doesn't have to guess on this. There is no reason to guess on this. You want to know why? Because your clerk or your producer was on the phone with them. How would the lawyer get notified about this? Ready? What happened in 2018 with this docket? Oh, there was an automatic attorney withdraw in 2018, and it drops off the attorney. So in 2017, it's all finalized. Then a year later, in 2018, that's why I specifically reported it that way, that the only thing that was active after 2017 was an automatic withdraw drop docket from the case. And that would be her attorney. Okay? Her attorney. So how could that attorney then be notified? Wouldn't you also just ask that question if you're on the phone with them? There's no reason to speculate or to say, I think that this is what happened. Well, in 2018, you really can't miss it. It says it right there in 2018. Auto attorney withdraw. Auto appear pro se. That means the attorney's name is now dropped off in 2018, and the auto appear pro se in 2018 on 7/2 means Monique is now pro se. So let me show that same thing back. Then here.
It's too late. In my experience, when I was a judge, I had a judicial assistant who would get the incoming notices, and they would check the court files, and they would make sure that the numbers line up. And if there's an error, then they would notify the clerk. But sometimes the clerk's automated systems already send out the notice. So yes, there are safeguards, but there are also human errors. And it's entirely plausible that a notice of hearing went out and that perhaps it got to one of these parties.
When I worked at Court TV, I had a partner named Jack Ford.
Michael went in and tried to reopen this case. Now, I can tell you why that probably didn't happen. If that happened, we would have seen something in the docket showing some type of a motion moving to reopen or a motion to enforce the judgment. So the fact that the clerk's office says it was a clerical error, we have to take them for their word. But what a nightmare, and especially on this case, and bad timing.
Well, you just answered my second question was, could Dr. Michael McKee have prompted this? We've been here.
So to do a complete whole show on this is just wowsville to me, like absolute wowsville. So I said, you know what? Here we go. I'm going to go and take my happy ass down to the lovely clerks once again. And then I said, wait, no, I'm just going to call them.
Hey, how's it going? I was actually in a couple days ago confirming a status on a court hearing, or I should say just a docket. I was wondering if I could give you a case number because there's now a bigger discrepancy. And so if I give you a case number, I have some questions if I can get some clarification. Okay, it's number 17DR 001691. Okay, so when I was there 2 days ago, I was told that if you look at the date of 6/17/2018, or I'm sorry, 6/7/17/2025, it says that there was original copy of hearing notice file. But the problem is that when there was a filing that appeared on 6/17/2025, what I was told was that it was a clerical error in the form of that it was a
there was a docket entry error. Like when the clerk went to go type in the number, she got it wrong. And so therefore there was never any, it clearly was the wrong case number. And so it was a docket entry error, she told me. Thereby nothing went in terms of like, there was no filing, there was nothing attached. And that the biggest part about it is that there was nothing sent to the parties. Are you able to look at that and tell me if any emailing or any mail went out to either one of these parties? Like the notification?
No email would have gone out.
Okay. One more time.
No email would have gone out.
One more time. Like the notification?
No email would have gone out.
Okay.
One second.
Okay. So you see how my stream doesn't stop right there? Why would it? We're going to get complete, accurate information. No email would have went out. No email did go out. She's looking at it. She puts me on hold. We get to listen to this amazing music. Was told me 2 days of hearing notice. Okay. Here we go. Again,
Yeah, I have no problem. A hearing notice was mailed to each party.
A hearing notice was mailed to each party. Okay, so this is different than what was told to me 2 days ago. Is it because there was no, how could there be a hearing notice mailed to each party if there was no hearing?
So an entry regarding a hearing was put on this docket and on this case. So the system created a hearing notice.
Okay, and then so, and then a mailing notice would have went out. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
And then, but the mailing notice would only go to the mailing address. Is that correct? That was still on the docket, correct?
Correct.
So like, whatever was on the filing for both parties, that would be the two addresses that either party would get this notice.
Or any address that they provided as an update, which I don't believe there is any relocation notice or anything on that.
Yeah, there is no relocation notice when I go back and scroll all the way down through. So then does that mean that the two addresses on here would be for each party, whatever address they had at that time?
Whatever was on the filing.
Okay, are you allowed to look and see? Because I have it on my end. Are you allowed to confirm that?
I'm not able to give that information.
Okay, are you allowed to give the information that it would be whatever's on the docket?
I can tell you that.
Okay, thank you very much. You've been very, very helpful. I have one other question, I guess. Why would I have been told that it was a docket entry error that nothing, since nothing was attached, nothing could have went out? That's
Why you would have been told that. I'm not that person.
okay.
I don't know why they would have said that.
Okay, have you ever heard of the term docket entry error?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
That's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is, the docket error.
okay. So she had all that right. The only thing that she didn't take into account is that something did actually go out to the parties.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to I don't care which way it is. I just want to report on it correctly. That's all I care about. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of your help. You've been very, very helpful. Okay. Now, ready? Hector, come on. You're going to get some work today. Oh, I do? Okay, thanks. Voila! This is what would have been mailed out to both parties. Here is Monique's, and I want to show, it's really important that guest that Ashley had on her show said that he would have known her last name. Monique, wait, that doesn't say Teppy, does it? It does not. Okay, I'm gonna make this way big. This went to her parents' address. Okay, this is hers. Okay. Now his. Same thing, right? Then, voila, we get finally, they went ahead and on the same day, okay, look at this. January 14th, 2026, they're like, listen. So go back and what day is January 14th, 2026? They go ahead and they file this, which is hearing mistakenly set on this case, and instead it was supposed to be for 1641. Okay. Okay. The most important part of this whole broadcast was supposed to be that this was not able. I wanted to show and prove to everybody that this could not have been a trigger. And I put it out 2 weeks ago when they told me that, yes, even though the girl messed up to me and said it didn't get mailed out, I truly wasn't concerned about that because I already knew what his address was. I knew that it was a Virginia address, okay? And I knew that Monique wasn't the perpetrator. What could trigger her to do what? She's not the perpetrator, so there's no trigger, okay? Also, I went to her parents' house. I needed to know, was there any email that went out with this? Okay. Was there a notice sent through email? Because as a pro se litigant in Franklin County courts, because I know this, because I've done this, I'm pro se. What happens when there's a filing in my court case? I get an email notification the day of the filing. When do I get this thing in the mail? 3 days later, 4 days later. I am emailed like this because of the pro se. If you're pro se, you are connected to the e-portal because you can e-file your motions. You can do e-filing. And so if you are pro se and you have the portal set up, you have to just not have you have to have the portal all set up so that you're getting a direct communication immediately upon the filing. All I need to know was, did either one of them have their email punched in and were they set up with the portal? That is the only way that Michael D. McKee could be notified. I knew this. I dealt with them. I know how it works. Okay. There's been clerical errors in my case before. Shit, they vacated a whole damn... They've come across and vacated something in a case of mine. I'm like, what's vacate? What's going on here? I have to send out because you can't have ex parte communication. So you have to send a group email saying, this is what I just received. What does this pertain to? And immediately the magistrates, clerks all over and saying, okay, that is definitely an error. We filed nothing on, in this case, blah, 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 going on and on. And I'm like, well, I feel emotional distress over this. You guys have definitely caused me emotional distress. I'm just fucking with you guys. Okay. Anyways, here's the facts. Okay. These are the facts. For us to ever allow a female or male clerk from the Franklin County courts to feel that their entry docket error could have been the trigger for this fucking double homicide is wrong. I live in Columbus. I am not going to let something that I have personal knowledge with, went then and vetted it myself. These are the facts. That clerk is not going to think for a second that her error triggered a man to go and commit double homicide. So just stop. It's not accurate. It's impossible. Because Michael McKee was not notified because he does not live there. And he was not sent an email. So he could not get this. So to whoever the clerk is out there that back in 2025 in June wrote up a docket entry error, okay? And normally what they do is because if you miss like a day or whatever, so a date would have come and gone in September, and Franklin's usually really good about, hey, we're kicking that then, and then they're going to charge you for filing something, should it have been kicked in September? Shocked that it wasn't. And why it would have been continued, again, shocked because it should have automatically kicked it. Okay. But these notices also go to the court. It'd be laziness on the side of people not to go and deal with it. And that would actually come from not the clerks. That would actually come from your magistrates and judges and their personal people to not deal with it. But he was not notified. And in fact, if you want to report on it, prove to all of us that somehow that man was notified. And I'll wait on a beach in Mexico with a bunch of pina coladas, because you cannot prove that. You cannot prove that Michael knew about this. He was not notified. This could not have been, so it could not have been a trigger. And nobody should be playing ball with anybody that wants to entertain this. And I don't think people are. And so pass this around. Send it to whoever. My email is themindchallenge@gmail.com. Have me on your show. Because the whole reason that this was ever even a talking point is because of the reporting that I did in the first place. This would have never been talked about had I not mentioned the fact that how this happens in Franklin County and the whole emailing. It's the whole purpose of this was about, could he have been notified through email? That's all I wanted to know, because I knew the address did not matter because he did not live there. Okay. In Franklin County, they don't say, oh, I have to make sure that he got that. Let me try to contact them some other way to make sure they got these. They don't give a fuck, nor do they do that. That's not how it works. Sorry. Oh, they just didn't show up. They must have not been notified. And oh, nope. You missed your court date. Go cry a fucking river somewhere else. So sorry for the Franklin County clerk person that ever typed this in, but you did not have anything to do. You were not a trigger. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I'm really sorry that maybe you'll never see this video. Maybe you will. I have the pleasure of or I should say, or the not pleasure of going down there, but you guys have always been 100% amazing with when I have been down there, and the patience. I've had to do a filing where there was over 1,000 pages. They didn't just say, no, they were very, very helpful and very, very kind. Maybe they just loved my organizational skills with it. So it was easy to deal with, but I've had filings not just once, but multiple times of over 1,000 pages. So, again, if they ever get this, you guys did nothing wrong. We make errors every day with our job. In fact, I just think that you could even push it off. It's not a clerical error at that point when it should have been handled by the magistrate whose docket this got put on. And why wasn't something noted into the... So if you really want to go that far, then you can go and ask the magistrate and her clerk why this wasn't handled in September when that date was set and nothing happened. That's where I think the laziness would be, if you really want to get technical. But this was not because of the human error that took place by a Franklin County clerk. Nothing happened from this. Nothing. He did not even know that this existed. And right now, because of the person who asked me to even look into this, what is this, gives me all the reason in the world to believe that Monique didn't know either. Because I don't think that person would have been asking me about it. All right. Thank you guys so much. You guys rock. Rewind it, play it back, pass it on. But human error happens all the time. And I guess they needed to have 300,000 clicks on a video because it should have never been reported that way. That's all I have to say. Peace out. Join me back here at 30 minutes. I'll be doing Idaho 4 coverage. Oh, fuck, I'm muted. Thank you to everybody. That's all I was saying, is thanking everybody. Thank you so much. Hey, you guys are lip readers, man. Haven't you guys seen the Charlie Kirk case? You guys are all lip readers. Run it back. Lip read. I want to see all of you guys lip reading. Tell me what you think I said in the comment section. Let's see how good you are. Lip readers.